Hi everyone, I'm James from the Final Flight podcast. Myself is again. I'm here again with Joe. How are you feeling tonight, Joe? Day one done.
Yeah, good mate. Good day to watch Constitution Hill. Never expected anything less, really, did you? So no, it was a good day's watching and some interesting winners.
Yeah, Constitution Hill's just so impressive. I know obviously we're massive Marine National fans and we'll see what happens next season, but I just can't see anything getting anywhere near this lad. He's just unbelievable. Step up in trip and he basically jogged round and had champion hurdle winners in behind him. It was a class performance, wasn't it?
Unbelievable, mate. Like you said, I mean, shows the confidence. He sat him in at Cheltenham over 2 mile and then made the run in over 2 mile fun. Obviously, we know the sort of ratio winners at Cheltenham blowing out at Aintree. I mean, you've seen it today in a way of stage star, really. So when you look at that and you think,
called it with Banbridge.
You did, mate, and you think, well, clearly Cheltenham didn't take that much out of him because he stepped up and tripped and cantered round, made the horses in behind look like handicappers.
Well, that's it. And, I go on a little bit about the old, winners at Cheltenham that don't normally go at Aintree and do very well, especially when they've had hard races. And Stage Star had a pretty tough race. And obviously he's just completely bombed out. But Sam Wah ran a pretty decent race. But I thought Banbridge was pretty impressive, even though he looked to be a little bit in trouble, sort of 2 or 3 out. But he just kicked on and won quite convincingly in the end. But no, Constitution Hill's just some horse. I hope they go to fences next season and take on whoever in the Arc, or whether they go novice. Well, you think with age on his side they'll do that, so it's going to be so exciting to watch. I can't see anything beating him. He's just, but honestly, anything can happen over fences, obviously, but he's just a superstar, mate, and I'm so lucky to have him going on while we're watching the racing. Right, so we're going to do day 3, and then we're going to finish on the big one of the weekend, the Grand National. So we're looking forward to that. So we're going to start with the first race, the Maghull Novices Chase. Obviously, we're starting off with a pretty short price favourite. John Bond's at 2 to 5 on currently. Obviously, he skipped the earlier race in the week, which he probably would have gone close in, But Banbridge is still in here, but he'll obviously probably be a non-runner. Not long till May, 7 to 1. Calico, 16 to 1. And a couple of daft outsiders. So we're thinking John Bond's just going to take these and win on the bridle, win easy.
Yeah, I think so, mate. Obviously, boring one again, isn't it? But I think, obviously, apart from the El Fabiolo, he looked brilliant all season. And then, obviously, the year before, he won at Cheltenham, and then he come to Aintree and beat El Fabiolo. So, he can probably bounce back. And, well, he's going to have to bounce back this time. But last time, it was more of a reproduce type of thing. But I just think he's a class above, really. I mean, the name's in here. I think, well, he's entitled to beat them anyway, whether we see it or not. I probably wouldn't touch the race, probably just watch and enjoy it type of thing and see what happens, really.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate that this is sort of how it's fell for this first race, because it just sort of puts a bit of a, it's not really, like you say, it's not a betting race, obviously. We know John Bond is one of the only horses lately who we've seen do pretty well at Cheltenham. I know he was second in that Supreme to Constitution Hill, but he did, like you say, back it up against El Fabiolo at Aintree. And I fully expect him to go and win this. If he don't win this, then something's, I don't know, gone terribly wrong. 2 to 5 on, he should be able to win this pretty easy. I don't really know how you'd get him beat, to be fair. I know, obviously, Calico, when he was second to him in that little two-runner race, he sort of tried to take him unawares, but I don't really think Caden Coleman's going to let that happen. I think he'll probably just bounce him out in front and keep it short and sweet, like what they did Constitution Hill today. What do you think? That's about right.
Yeah, 100%. Mate, like I say, he's obviously, I know he got beat last time, and El Fabiolo looks like he could win the champion chase next year, but he's just a classy animal, isn't he? I know he can get tight into a few, but he always seems to sort himself out. You can lead with him, you can get a lead on him. I'm in the same camp as you, really. I think he'll just bounce him out and show the class of the horse, really, type of thing. Fingers crossed, anyway, because I would like to see him bounce back, No,
I agree. I'd like to see him going easy, to be honest. I like John Bond. I've got a soft spot for John Bond, so hopefully he can do that and kick on next season and see what he does next season. Right, then we'll move on to the 3 o'clock, the Mersey Novice Hurdle. It's a tasty little race over 2 mile for favourite Hermes Allen's in here. You got Dark Raven, who was 6th in the Supreme. You wear it well. Mersey Novice Hurdle winner. Irish Point, which is a nice horse in here. And 9 to 1 the rest. Have you got a choice and a strong selection for this race?
I do, mate, and it's one that I'm pretty keen on, really, and it's Irish Point.
Nice. 11-2 currently. Not a bad little each way price.
No, mate, it's a great each way price. Obviously, didn't run at Cheltenham, but he's run well in defeat. You know, obviously, we mentioned the horse Marine National, I do believe, and he did. He finished second to him. He's never raced over this trip before, but I just think that there is a bit of improvement there. And the way he sort of set the steady pace last time out and nothing really come towards him, I think he's probably got an extra gear over further. And I just think it's an interesting horse, really, who can probably show his class.
No, I think that's a good little selection now. I do like Irish Point. Obviously, it ties in with a few of the big guns from Cheltenham and the Dublin Racing Festival, and I think he's got a really good chance. The horse I've gone with is a John Joe O'Neill horse, currently 9-1. It's a horse I've really liked sort of this season, and he's finally getting a crack at Grade 1 level, and it's Springwell Bay. He's off 11. He got 11-7 here, so he sort of skipped Cheltenham for what I would say is a prep run. Wetherby, where he won it over 2 mile 3 class 4, but he won it with a complete ease. You know, basically a bridal job, and he had a good run at Ascot the run before that, which was obviously in a class 2. So he likes the decent ground and he doesn't mind it soft. So sort of good to soft ground. Although I read earlier that they're going to water tonight for tomorrow, so I think the jockeys were mentioning that it will get into a little bit more of the too good side, even though it's good ground. So you think they'd like it like that, but no, I'm going to go for Springwell Bay. Gets a step up in trip here. I think the Wetherby run was a bit of a prep run. He's obviously skipped Cheltenham, targeting this race, I think, and I think a crack at a Grade 1 is going to have a good chance. And I think 9-1. I'm happy to take on the likes of Hermes Alan, who's obviously bombed out at Cheltenham. Dark Raven wasn't right cracking in the Supreme, and obviously You Wear It Well was very impressive in the Mayor's Novice Hurdle, but I don't like winners at Cheltenham coming and backing it up here unless it's a horse like a John Bonhor who have sort of done it in the past. So I quite like your Irish Point. He would probably be my second shout.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to go for Springwell Bay.
I'm not sort of in the same sort of area as you in a way. Like I feel like Irish Point, even though he's ran 29 days ago, you know, he was 1-4 that day over 1 mile 7, and it showed that it was sort of he was entitled to win. He had a sort of cantered round in front and didn't really get near. So I think he's just definitely entitled to improve. They obviously didn't want the hard race from Cheltenham, and I know I said it before, which was false. He did actually run over 2 mile 4 against Cham Carley and finished 2 lengths off. Now, obviously, that form ties in well with the Cheltenham form in terms of beating Goodland. I know behind Impere Pass, but obviously it all ties in with great form. And I just feel like they may have pulled this one, especially at 11-2 now, an each way price. You know, I think it's a great each way bet, and exactly the same as yours. Really, I'm happy to take on the two at the top of the market with ours.
But like I say, there's a massive difference between a tough festival race and a 1-4 sort of prep run, even though you've run closer to this race. To me, they're the sort of races where they're thinking, look, we're going to skip Cheltenham. We're probably not going to win there, but we can really have a good crack at Aintree because they think that it'll suit their horse better. You know, like Springwell Bay, for example, has run at tracks like Ascot, which are quite similar to Aintree, with flat tracks, you know what I mean? So fingers crossed we can get the win with one of them, mate. It'd be nice. Nice little each way prices, 11-2, 9-1. Right, another big race next, the Liverpool Hurdle, the 335, where plenty of the Stayers Hurdle runners come back again. Obviously, there's no Tehupu, though, as a non-runner. But you've got Marie's Rock stepping up to 3 mile finally, which she probably should have done at Cheltenham. Florin Port, Home by the Lee, Cider Bailey, Dasher Brasher Champ, etc. 10-1 the rest. Who are we going for in this then, mate? What are you thinking? Are we sticking with the... which way am I going? This way? No, this way. I always get it wrong. Are we sticking with...
I am, mate. I'm sticking with this one. Obviously, I've got a bit of bias here. I really do like this horse. But I just think last day when you watch, I mean, like Dasher Drasher got ridden well, didn't he? You know, he got put up to it. Now, Marie's Rock, I'd probably say, is the interesting one because of the ground being good. Now, I know they dodged the Stays at Cheltenham because it was sort of your softer side of ground and they didn't know if he'd definitely get the trip. And that's my worry here, really. If Florin Porter, which I think is going to definitely identify him as the main danger, if he turns this into a stamina test, I think he could possibly struggle first time at this trip, especially after bombing out at Cheltenham. So I think when you watch the race back, Florian Porter never seems to stay straight. He always wants to wander, but Danny didn't really go after him. He just tried to straighten him up and let him finish. So I think he's probably one that's going to be fresher out that camp. And you look through Home by the Lee, had a tough race. Side of Belay got up well, but I just think Florian Porter will have the fitness edge, especially not having the great prep run into Cheltenham. I think he'll have freshened up, and I'm praying Danny Mullins gets this one right. What about you, mate?
Yeah, no, I understand that angle, and I think you're onto a good one there. I do think Florian Porter did have a bit of a weird prep. He's obviously not had the best, preparation for Cheltenham, so you could think that. I know he sort of bombed. Well, he won it like the year before and then got beat by Cider Bailey, didn't he, at Aintree? But he's not. It's almost like you maybe think, well, has that stayers actually made him perfectly prepped for this race?
Yeah.
Because he weren't really fully wound up for that. And he obviously had the issue before the stayers, didn't he? So that could have had a bit of an effect on him. If that's been sorted out and now he could be cherry ripe for this, so you'd probably fancy him to beat the likes of Cider Burley. I'm not. It's a weird one with Marie's Rock. I'm not too sure because just the way she bombed out in that Mare's Hurdle just proper put me off big time, and she's going to have to really step up to win this, I think, against some of these out and out stayers. And if it's sort of good to soft now and the water in, so it's not going to be too quick, the ground. So I'm going to leave her alone. And I don't like Nico de Boinville in the staying race. I know, even though he won on Shishkin today, which was mega impressive, by the way. I'm proper buzzing for Shishkin. That was fantastic. That Applutard, obviously disappointing. But my selection for the stayers, Liverpool Hurdle, is going to be Home by the Lee. I'm going to go with Home by the Lee, 11-2. I think he's going under the radar a little bit. Obviously, that stayers hurdle, he did make a pretty shuddering error where he basically come to a complete standstill. He sort of smashed through the hurdle. He had both back legs flat to the board. He were a complete standstill. And he still come travelling to sort of the second last, thinking he's going to still go on and maybe come close here. And obviously, he sort of emptied out, and the jockey's not giving him a hard time home. So I'm a little bit like he wasn't in that hard, tough finish. A little bit like Florian Porter, who sort of just emptied out and finished off. I think he sort of had a bit of an easy end to the race, especially after the big mistake. So if JJ Slevin can sort of get him in a good position, I do think he's the stayer under the radar, and I think he's got a really good chance if there's no ill effects from that mistake and that finish. But like I say, he come home in his own time in a way. So I think he's sort of, again, he'll have had one eye on Aintree for this. So I'm going to go for Home by the Lee at 11-2, 6-1. I think you can get, again, at an each way price and take on Marie's Rock.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I think, especially at the top of the market, not seen him over this trip before, I think he's definitely a favourite to take on. If he wins well, and you probably say fair play, they probably should have took him to Cheltenham and had a crack there. But I just feel like there was clearly doubt in the camp. The reason they didn't take him, to the one in Cheltenham. I just think there's proven stays in here, So yeah, that's my angle on this one.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you've got likes of Champa, who's probably too old now, and Marie's Rock, she gets £7, but she needs to step up massively, and I'm not sure she's going to be able to. Can Cider Bailey repeat that performance? Probably not. Dasher, I can't see him putting the same performance on. I think that would have an unbelievably massive run from him.
Absolutely brilliant.
Crazy run, I thought. Fantastic for them. I'm glad they got the second place back as well. And I can't really go for anything else. So, like I say, Home by the Lee for me each way. And Florian Porter for you, we can still get around 5-1, 11-2 for both of them. So it's an each way bet to nothing, really. You'd like to think at least one of us will get his money back.
Yeah, definitely, 100%, mate.
Right, I'm gonna put anything else to note. So if you've got anything else for any of the other races before we go on to the big one, now's your chance to get them up and say your piece.
Yeah, so there's one I like in the 225 actually, and it's a Skelton horse again, West Balboa.
Nice.
Now, obviously, Skelton's obviously known for going for handicaps and stuff like that. Yeah. Now, he's dodged Cheltenham, and I mean, dodged it by quite far. His last run was 91 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
But he won a 2 mile 5 handicap where he rallied over and he beat, let me just get it up now. I did write it down, but I left the note downstairs. Red Risk, Paul Nicholls. had a £7 claimer on that day, and that horse was off a good weight. I just feel like the step up in trip, what we explained on the podcast yesterday, if you haven't watched, play right into his hands. Like I say, every time he's run over at the shorter distance, he's always seemed to rally, or when he was over 2 mile 4 last season, keeping on. So I just think like it's one to note really, especially a decentish price. I think it's around 7 to 1 in the market. You know, Skelton's always known for his handicap runners, and for me, it's one that I probably will back each way.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good pick. I think, like you say, Skelton just one of them where every now and then he just throws a good one in an handicap and manages to get him up.
Yeah, and when you look as well, the favourite Good Time Johnny obviously won at Cheltenham. Tough race, you know, like we've mentioned plenty of times now. Will it reproduce? Untitled is the John Joe O'Neill runner that went to Cheltenham as well. So you're probably looking at a volatile top half of the field. You know what I mean? And you said it, and I don't really like him over this trip either. Nico's in there, who's third favourite. And he also ran in the Good Time Johnny race at Cheltenham. So your top 4 in the market, 3 of them have ran. One hasn't, and it's the Dan Skelton, Harry Skelton horse. That's probably the one to know, isn't it, really?
Yeah, no, you bang right. And I mean, I've gone for a selection in this race as well. And again, it's another one who didn't run at Cheltenham. And I've gone for the Nichols runner, Outlaw Peter. You can get sort of 8 to 1 on him each way. Again's another decent price. He ran well at Kempton sort of 29 days ago, Class 2 handicap, soft ground, and he's battered him basically. He stayed on really strongly, and I thought it was an impressive performance. And I think he's gone up sort of £5 for that. But I think he deserves a crack at these. And again, it's taking on horses who've had hard races. He's not really had a very hard race, and he comes here sort of ready to go. He gets a bit more of a step up in trip, which I think is just going to suit him on decent. Obviously, it's a little bit decent ground, sort of good to soft, so it's better ground for him. Step up in trip. I think he looks a better horse after these last 2 runs, and I do think he's got a little bit of class about him as well, in those sort of hitman colours. So I think Outlaw Peter's got a good chance of going close in this, to be honest. At 8 to 1. And my other, have you got anything else, or shall I go for my second selection?
I do have one just to keep an eye on in the last race. Paul Philly, I think that's how it's pronounced. The Gordon Elliott horse. We still there?
Say that again, Joe. You cut out a little bit.
I thought I did. In the 620 Paul LaPhilly, it's the Gordon Elliott horse. It hasn't run for 110 days, but it won a point over 3 miles. Then they took it to Leopardstown over Christmas, and it beat the Did I Ask You That, Willie Mullin, Patrick as well. Now, I just think, obviously, 2 mile 1 probably wants further, but they've entered it in Punchestown for the Grade 1 National Hunt. Obviously, this is a Grade 2. It's had a bit of money. It's probably the horse that's had the bit of money so far. It opened up at 7s, now into 5s. Probably just want to know and watch, really. If it gets backed in a bit more, maybe have a little go if you want a bit of interest, really. That's all I'd say. Yeah,
no, that's a nice one to look out for. I've got one other in the handicap at the at 4:15, the handicap chase, and I've sort of gone down the trends side of this. I went through some of the trends to see if I could come up with something. I was finding it quite tough to pick one out, and the one I've landed on, and I'll try my best to not mess up the pronunciation as well, but it's Kinondo Kwetu, and it's a Sam England trained horse. You can get around 10 to 1. And he just sort of hit a few of the trends, He was decent age, 7-year-old. He's won at Aintree. In fact, he's one of the only horses in this field that's run and won at Aintree. And he's won comfortably at the trip. So Class 3 handicaps. Gets this step up in here. He found Grade 2 a little bit hot for him when he had a bit of a step up. But he's back into handicap company now off a nice low weight. He's only off 137. So he's carrying 10.5 stone. He sort of comes in here fresh, and I think he's going to have a decent chance. So I've gone with Kinondo Kweto, 10 to 1 each way in the 4:15 handicap chase.
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant.
Right, mate. Here we go.
I'm going to let you start because you normally pick a decent horse in a handicap. You love the handicap, so I'm going to let you start for this one, mate.
Well, I've got 2, and one of them's pretty obvious, but it's like a little bit of after timing because obviously a lot of people would have backed some of these national horses a while back at decent prices, and I was lucky enough to get Corrick Rambler at 28 to 1, which I think is a decent price. To say he's sort of 6 to 1 favourite now, and I think he's got a brilliant chance. And again, we went through the trends and he sort of hit quite a lot of the trends, so he does look a good favourite. But obviously, a lot of the times these single figure favourites don't win. Now, obviously, a lot of the times we get a lot of good horses coming to the front now, the way the Nationals sort of set up. And, you know, he's sort of £10 well in for the win at Cheltenham, as we know, and he's got a great chance. And I think if Derek Fox is obviously going to be on, because he's managed to get himself fit for him, so I think he's got a real good favourites chance. And I won't put anyone off backing him each way at 13 to 2. It's still a good price. And if he wins again, it's, you know, a winner's a winner. But I think my first sort of punt would be obviously Corrick Rambler, which I've got a good price. I don't think Noble Yeats will be able to back last year's up. I think he's gone up way too much in the weights. Obviously, he's run well in the Gold Cup, but he's going to have to carry a hell of a lot more weight this year compared to last year. So I'd sort of write him off. Same with a few of the other higher rated horses, sort of Delta Work and that sort of thing. But the only other selection I've got, and again, I'm going to have to time a little bit because I've actually backed him at 100 to 1. But he is only 40 to 1 now. So he has come in for a little bit of support. I know there's obviously non-runners and things as you've gone on, but the 40 to 1 shot for the Grand National is a horse called Roy Mage, ROIMAGE, 40 to 1. And the reason I'm going for this horse is he's rated 149, he's carrying 10 stone 8, and I think he's had a really nice prep, and I think he's been completely laid out for this race. He's number 19. Last time out, he was second to Longhouse Poet, who was obviously 6th in the National last year. Now, he was giving him £5 for sort of a length and a half loss, and I think that was a really nice run. Again, it was over a shorter trip. It was over 2 miles 6, I think it was. Sorry, no, 3 mile 2. So obviously now he's got this massive step up. Grand National, I think it's going to bring a hell of a lot of improvement out in him. He sort of fell at Cheltenham last time before that, but he was travelling pretty well, so you kind of put a line through that. You know, he's got sort of form, a couple of prep runs. He's got form in behind Statler and Manila Indo running that race. So obviously that was a well short trip. It was 2 mile 6. And again, he's just sort of had these little prep runs over 2 shorter. He's obviously gone close with Longhouse Point, giving him weight. And I think he comes in now, first crack at a National. He's off 10 stone 8. It's a nice low weight. I think with a clear round, this lad's got a really, really good chance of going close. And I think he's been laid out for it. And I think 40 to 1. Couple of quid each way is what I'll be putting on him, and you never know. Obviously, I've got 100 to 1, so I'll be very happy if he can even place. But yeah, 40 to 1, Roy Mage. That's my selection for the Grand National, mate.
Brilliant, mate. So I'd probably say what you said about Corrick Rambler, really. Obviously, we know how he flew up the hill at Cheltenham, and like you see, he's well in on the weights and stuff. Price-wise, 13 to 2, I think it's a good price. You know, if he stays up, I wouldn't have him out the places, to be honest. So you're guaranteed a bit of profit placing-wise. For me, I've stumbled along, and that a shame. Rachel Blackmore's ride. Now, the only time he sort of been 3 mile plus was at Cheltenham 3 mile 2. And when you watch the race back, he clearly wasn't right. He made horrendous mistakes. He had 176 days off after that run. He come back and he shaped very well after 176 days off, and went down by a head against the big dog. Now, he was carrying 11 stone 1 that day. Then he's gone to Leopardstown and finished 4th. Finished 4th, but it was less than 2 lengths in the end. He's off 10 stone 5 here, so really low weight.
Love it.
And I just think he's ground versatile. He's won the last day in an absolute slog, 2 mile 4. Yeah, he made a few jumping mistakes, but I think the extended trip should help that. And when we said yesterday about going down in trip then up, 10 stone 5's an absolute joke of a weight really for this horse. And obviously Rachel won 2021 as well. And one thing I did notice, every time he's been over 3 mile, he's been beat by a head or two lengths or something like that, but he's always been travelling the best and looks like he gets a bit outpaced, but always keeps on for pressure. So I think the step-ups are definitely the right way, and I think he's off a low weight here. I think definitely could go well, mate. So that's the one I've sort of landed on.
No, I love it, and like I say, the Grand National's obviously one of them races where it is obviously 40 runners, anything can happen, plenty of fallers, and it's just a case of just try and find something, have a couple of quid here or there, don't be going mad because it's just half the time there'll be something that comes out of the blue. It's a race to enjoy and just have a bit of fun with. And I mean, your selection 10 stone 5. I mean, if you look to me, you're looking at any horse with 11 stone or more. I'll just completely write them off because the base got no chance. You go through the last sort of 10, 15 winners, and plenty of them are lower than carrying less than 11 stone. So you do need something like that for me. But like I say, it's a race to have fun with. I know there's obviously been a lot of talk in the media about Saturday, and I'm hoping that it all goes along smoothly and it doesn't get disrupted because. There's a lot of rubbish talks about how these horses are being looked after and things. And we all know as racing fans how well they are looked after. And if they weren't racing, a lot of these horses, they wouldn't exist. You know what I mean? They're looked after like lords and kings and queens. And they love to race. And we all know that. And I just hope it can all go along smoothly and carry on as we are. Because a lot of the rubbish that's been in the media has been a lot of crap, to be honest. And I'm hoping it all just goes smoothly for them, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely, mate, 100%. Like, I mean, you look at this, the new rule with the whips and stuff. I mean, I seen a whip the other week.
The Pro Cush.
Yeah, it's all form, isn't it? It's not a whip. Like I say now, you clap your hands like that, it makes a loud noise. That's all it is. It's flat and it's giving the horse a reminder, run. And I mean, look at Shishkin today, just blitzed up, didn't it? Blitzed by the Derek Fox runner. So, by the way, I do think that it could have been a different race if Derek Fox had been on.
I don't know. To be fair to Brian Hughes, I didn't think he'd given him a decent ride, but like I say, going back to that, racing has a lot of things in place that do. It is all about horse safety. We understand that horses can fall and accidents can happen, but it's way less compared to a lot of other things. And there's people going after racing that are so ill-informed and uneducated on any of it, and they don't even know anything about it. They just think it's trendy to go against it, basically, and it's really annoying. And a lot of these news outlets, like bloody Sky News and all that, are coming out saying a lot of rubbish. I mean, I think one of the reporters today put a video up saying that the Nationals at Haydock, and that and it's just there's fools coming out and they don't know anything. And hopefully the right people will get out there and be able to get the word out there. I know there's a new thing on Twitter that stand up for racing. I think that's a great movement. So hopefully they can get some speed behind them. And I think Kevin Blake's going on with Piers Morgan. So if he manages to get on with him, I'm going to be watching that and hopefully can put a good word for racing overall because we do love it, and the horses love it, and we all love the animals, and that's what it's all about. Don't you agree?
Yeah, definitely, mate. Like you say, it's it's people's livelihoods. It's a lifestyle. Do you know what I mean? And like you say, that the horses are looked after like kings and queens. They're all checked over. They've got vets. You watch the Grand National. There's doctors going around, and it's not just for the jockeys, it's for the horses as well. They're all trained. They all get checked over before they go out, checked over when they come in. They're all treated well at the yards. They get taken out to sea. Not many, outside of racing, not many horses will get taken out to the beach and go and splash around in the sea. And people don't see that side, but it's definitely not a type of thing where, right, they get raced, to go in a box, they get fit, and then they're back out. They do have a life outside of racing. You see them all when they get retired, like going to retirement as well. They go back to stud. It is nice to see. But yeah, like I say, I hope it runs smoothly, and I hope ain't that a shame bolts up and I'm celebrating.
Nah, that'd be good, mate. Fingers crossed. We'll finish on naps and next best. What's your nap for the day 3 Grand National Day then?
Let me just get that up, mate. My nap is... Well, I'm not going to nap him. My nap would be Irish Point in the 3 o'clock.
Right, well, I'll nap Home by the Lee in the 3:35 Liverpool Hurdle. And your next best?
West Balboa in the 2:25.
Oh, I'm gonna next best Springwell Bay in the 2:25. I'm gonna take you on, and, and hopefully we'll manage to pick some nice winners. And like I say, we'll post this up tonight. So I hope you've enjoyed listening to our previews of the Aintree Festival. Well, obviously now, once it's all finished, we'll crack on to Punchestown. There'll be a few other bits and bobs in between, no doubt. And then obviously once Punchestown's out the way, it's all systems go for the flat season. And I think it's the Guineas weekend to kick us off at some point. So I can't wait for that. Brilliant. And it should be a good season, mate. Fingers crossed we can finish off Aintree on a high.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Like I say, before you know it, it'll be the flat, and flat will be flowing, and you'll be talking about what was the jump season of 2022/23. So, no, just enjoy it, like I say, and look forward to the Guineas where August Rodin will bolt up.
Yeah, we'll soon find out, mate. I'm looking forward to it. Right,
Definitely.
we'll catch you on the next podcast. Like I say, like and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. We're on Spotify, Twitter, TikTok. Watch the videos, like all that. But like I say, like and subscribe, and we'll hopefully see you again soon. Drop a send in the comments you've got what to say. We'll like to reply to you as well. And let's have a good weekend.
Yep, exactly
Right,
what
thank
James
you, Joe.
said there. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Let's go.